Welcome to the From Scratch Body. I'm Liv and today we're making one of the simplest and best pasta dishes. Yes, it's the carbonara. And no, you don't need any cream. Let's go. So I've got here a bunch of freshly made today wholemeal pasta, and the reason I have that is because I've done a couple of videos on how to make pasta from scratch, both with a pasta maker if you have that and without if you don't have one, and they're both the result that you see here, so we have to use it for something. So I thought we'd make some carbonara, which is one of my favorite things to make. So I start by frying off some pancetta in this pan, like a fairly deep pan. And I've put them on some kitchen roll just to get the worst bits of the fat off. Now we're gonna make our carbonara sauce. For 2 people, you want 1 egg yolk. And you could just keep the egg white in a little box in the fridge. You can have it with your breakfast. You can add, a tiny bit of egg white to an omelette or do an egg white scrambled eggs or whatever you want. So we've got just an egg yolk in here for now. Then we're going to do about half a cup of Parmesan. I've just used up the last bit of my old Parmesan. Don't throw away the rind, the hard bit of the Parmesan, because you can chuck this in a soup. It makes it super creamy and delicious and tasty. So we've got at least half a cup in here. A bit of black pepper to go with that. I don't add any salt to this because pancetta, which is going to go in the dish, is fairly salty, and I also find Parmesan fairly salty, so I don't really think it needs any more salt personally, but it's up to you. Just mix that with a fork. I'm actually going to add another egg yolk to this because I put in quite a lot of Parmesan, and it was a fairly small egg, so I'm going to add 1 more. So depending on the size of the eggs that you're using, 1 or 2 egg yolks for 2 people. Again, keeping the egg white. Now we're getting quite a bit of egg white here. If you get a tiny bit of egg white into this mix, it's not the end of the world at all. It's not going to ruin the sauce. Now mixing that together, that's more like it. That looks something like this now. If you have fresh pasta like I've got today, then it probably only needs about 4 minutes. So the pan that you use to fry the pancetta in, you don't need to clean that because it's all going to go back in there. So I'm going to add a tiny bit more oil to this. And with carbonara, you can do whatever you want really. You can make it vegetarian as well. Instead of pancetta, you can fry off some mushroom, or you can even add some mushroom even if you're using pancetta. So you can mix it up as you like. I've also got some frozen peas here that I'm gonna chuck in. I love adding some frozen peas. If you have some beans or some broccoli or whatever you want, you can chuck it in there. I don't really care if it's authentic or not, as long as it's something that you enjoy. And maybe it's not a carbonara anymore, but hey ho. When it's getting towards the end of the pasta cooking, then you want to tip a tiny bit of the pasta water into the pan that you're going to put everything back in. When the pasta's done, you want to get the water out, but don't rinse it out too much. Keep it quite wet and then put it straight back into the pan where you did the pancetta. The peas in there straight away so that they get the heat from the pasta. The peas don't need a lot of heat to warm up, so you can just chuck them in there and they will thaw immediately basically, but mix them in well. So this hob is not on at the moment, the hob with the pan that you're putting everything in, and the reason for that is that when you put the carbonara sauce in, it curdles if it's too hot because the egg just starts cooking. We don't want the egg to cook, we just want everything to be hot. Back in with the pancetta and in with the carbonara sauce. See how creamy this gets. It gets so creamy just from the Parmesan and from the egg. That's all you need. You don't need to add any cream. You don't need to add anything too indulgent. And it smells incredible. The Parmesan smell is really coming out.